afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of day it happens to be you are watching our webinar today. My name is Lee Gray, and I'm with ActionCOACH Business Coaching. And one of the things that I have decided to do during this unusual time is to interview experts in a particular industry that would impact business. And I'm excited today to be interviewing Eileen McNichol, who is an HR expert. She's an HR expert. ActionCOACH, as you know, we work with business owners one-to-one. We work with business owners in groups. We work on whatever it is that you want to achieve in your business. And as we know, we are in a unique time today, right? Nothing like we've ever seen before. So because of that, we're having to do different things every single day. And the information that Eileen is bringing to us today actually is all but 30 days old. It's really that new, most of the information that she'll be sharing with us. And in the next months to come, it's probably going to be updated again as well. So stay tuned. We'll be having Eileen back to keep us up to date on what's happening in the HR world as it relates to business. So let me go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to share my screen and put some information up here for you all. So I hope you're seeing my screen. It has a giant logo that says ActionCOACH Business Coaching on it, Coach Lee Gray, my phone number and my contact information. So please do reach out to us after this webinar if you'd like to know some more information, and also for a complimentary coaching session, because I am offering an hour free of coaching to anyone who asks. I have freed up 5 hours per week to do that. So let me just get into introducing Eileen. Eileen McNichol is the president of HRX Consulting. I love your tagline, the cure for your headaches, your HR headaches, because for those of us who have employees and have to work with people, headaches sometimes come along with that, right? And thank you very much for providing me some information on your background and your experience. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So you've been learning a lot about employees through a lot of different industries that you've worked in: utilities, entertainment, healthcare, government. And in 2019, you opened your own human resources consulting in Wichita, Kansas. You help mainly small and mid-sized organizations that either don't have an HR or have a limited HR assistance. And you provide HR compliance, reviews, employee handbook, and policy development. You review them and write them, from what I understand, and employee relations assistance, and just special HR project management. So someone could call you in and say, hey, we've got a challenge, like coming back from Corona. Maybe they want to just revamp everything. You would be able to come in and help them with a big project of that sort, right? And right now we don't even know what that might be. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that it would be a way I certainly could be of help.
Awesome. And I know you are helping customers and your HR clients with employee engagement and training and staff development, strategic planning with the employee goal alignment, which I love. You and I have done that together with some clients. And as HRX Consulting, as you say, you are the cure for HR headaches. So you previously, right. Yes, and you previously owned and operated the consulting in Atlanta, Georgia. I would just like to know, what's the difference generally between Atlanta and Kansas from the HR perspective?
From the HR perspective, well, you know, when you've got employees, there's not a difference. I mean, the federal laws are the federal laws. There's different state laws. So there may be some things that are specific to Georgia versus Kansas. But generally speaking, humans that's that human part of human resources. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of similarity there.
Okay, that makes sense. And I do appreciate that even though we're unique people, we are still humans. And that's the tie that binds. So cool. You also have, you've held leadership positions in Georgia at the Southern Company, Morant, Rockdale County Government, and upon your return to Kansas then at Ransom Memorial Hospital in Ottawa, Kansas. And then you also spent some time in Sedgwick County Government. And while at Rockdale County, Georgia, as the HR director, the Georgia Local Government Personnel Association awarded you in 2007 HR Professional of the Year, awarded for the Pride Certified Certification Curriculum, and in 2006 they awarded you with the HR Large Agency of the Year, awarded for the Rockdale County Pride Program. Tell us a little bit about that Pride program.
Oh, That was specific to the government. They were wanting to put together a culture. It was culture development basically for the employees and for the county government, and it stood for professionalism, respect, integrity, dependability, and effectiveness, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so what we did was we developed everything around those, from the employee handbook to performance evaluation, to employee recognition. It was fabulous. It was a wonderful experience.
Well, I thank you for sharing, and congratulations on the award. Is that something that you would be able to help a client develop in their organization, a program such as Pride, unique to their own?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, that's what you should be doing when you have any kind of business and you have employees, is you need to have this type of effort to where everything is coordinated and put together, and it's connected, and it drives the culture of the organization from the minute you start interviewing someone to the minute that you would say they onboard to when they offboard, and everything in between needs to support the culture and the values of the organization.
Okay. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for that explanation. You also have a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from the University of Kansas, and you are a SHRM certified professional and certified human capital strategist. So you bring a lot of good experience, education-wise and certification-wise, but also just living through the HR roles that you've lived in over the last 25 years of experience. And so I appreciate that. And I think we're very lucky to have someone such as yourself with that experience coming to us today and applying what you have learned. I know you've spent a lot of time understanding the new laws as they relate to the COVID-19 that we're trying to figure out day by day how to deal with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, Eileen, and get right into the questions, because I know people will be tuning in to listen to those. Before I do, Eileen can be reached at eileen@hrxconsultingllc.com, and your phone number is 316-677-7981. And of course, you're available on LinkedIn, and people can find you on your website as well. And I will put this slide back up at the end so that people can ask questions that they may have in case they want to contact you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that people can see us side by side, and I can begin asking you questions. So number one, I'd like to just ask you, how are companies dealing with human resources differently today than before COVID-19?
Well, just a few months ago, everybody was desperately seeking those good hires, getting, because we had a really small labor pool, it was a challenge to get people to hire, find good people to hire. And we also were working with establishing those programs I was talking about, where you would align and engage the employees with the values of the company. I mean, those were the things we were working on: attraction, retention, and engagement. Well, now it's like this completely turned upside down universe. And now we're talking about, how do we do a bulk layoff? How do we put people on unemployment? Now I'm not deemed an essential service and I've got to close my doors. How do I get who can work remotely and who can't? It's a complete parallel, incredibly negative, upside down universe.
Right.
It's like the world of opposites.
The world of opposites. I love that. And who would have ever thought that restaurants in any situation would be the first to close? Because normally you would think someone providing a food service would be always be there, but they absolutely cannot comply with the 6 feet in distance and social distancing, the new word social distancing that we have in their environment. So, and they're trying to do that. Many companies are pivoting their business. What we have learned with ActionCOACH, basically there are 3 kinds of business today. There's those that will thrive during COVID-19 and all of its fallout, those that will not make it, and those that will just get by but still be in business when this is over, if it is. Now, the difference between those are those that are going to be able to pivot and do something different. My husband was telling me there's a restaurant in town that provides uncooked food as you drive through, and then you can take it home and prepare it. But they're also providing essentials like toilet paper, paper towels, napkins, and things like that. That way you don't have to. Now, who would have ever thought you would go to your favorite restaurant to have unprepared, uncooked food delivered to your car and the paper essentials that go with it? So definitely companies are having to pivot in their business, and I know in their employment too, as you just said. That's very interesting. So explain a little bit about employee communications and managing really expectations between employers and employers during COVID-19.
Well, there is one other thing I wanted to mention that employers need to be really mindful of. Employee safety, workplace safety is critical right now. It's always been important. You have to have a safe work environment for your employees. But now more than ever, it's going to be important because of the social distancing, the hygiene, the sneeze hygiene, the regular routine cleaning of the surfaces and everything. I mean, you were talking about restaurants and the grocery stores and Walmart and those kinds of stores that are allowed to be open. They're having to change their hours so that they can go through and clean the store, unlike no other time ever before.
Right.
And so it's really, really important for those businesses that are staying open, that they have protocols put in place, that they've got the hand sanitizers out, they're reminding people to wash their hands, they're cleaning areas, they're keeping people distant, that social distancing, even at work. Got to make sure when people take breaks that they're staying apart from each other. If you're an employer and you're going to be requiring that people wear face masks or some sort of face covering, if you're requiring it, you need to provide it. So there's a lot of things that employers need to think about regarding workplace safety too. And of course, that'll be a much, much, much bigger thing once we start opening the economy back up and people start going back to our new normal, whatever that will be.
Right.
To answer your question, you were asking about communication. You and I have talked about this many times. The thing that is so important in any relationship is communication and managing expectations. And as an employer, that's one of the most important things you can do. Anytime. You should be regularly communicating with your employees, letting them know all the great things that are going on and encouraging them to be embracing your values and working hard to make things come together. That's what you should be doing.
Even if you don't know what the answer is today, you can at least communicate you are working toward the answer, right?
Absolutely. Right now, what your employees need to hear from you is, if they're working with you, obviously it's going to be a lot easier to let them know that you care and to give them encouragement. But if you have shut down your business temporarily, or if people are working remotely, it's more important than ever that you reach out to them by phone call, by Zoom meeting, whatever kind of conferencing that you can, and by email, and to do it regularly. And that doesn't mean once a week or once a month. I mean, that means regularly, because everybody is freaking out at some point or another. There's some days when it's going to be good, and then you're going to get hit with this freak out thing.
Right.
And employees need to know that their employers care about them. And as an employer, I know you do. You want to make sure they're okay, that they have everything they need. If they're working remotely or they're having any challenges, that you can help them with. And they need to know, what are you, boss, going to do? How are you going to handle this? How are we going to get through this? And the thing is, you may not know, like you said, you may not know, but you need to provide as much reassurance and comfort to your employees as you possibly can.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think that generally speaking, employers, business owners do not communicate to vendors, employees, or strategic partners as often as they think they do in their head. Oh, they know what we're thinking, they know what we're doing, and that's what's necessary. There's a little quote that I have on my office wall that says, as the CEO, once you've told everyone and shared your vision, your mission, your plan for your company, and you've told them and you're sick and tired of telling them, then you're about halfway there for what they need to know. And because if we don't tell the story to our employees, they conjure up their own stories, and those stories may be filled with fear and unrealistic expectations that are not necessarily the case. So over communicate is what I hear you saying. That may seem like over communication from us, but to the person receiving it, it's like, it's never enough.
And you also, I mean, we realize that business owners are human too. Mm-hmm. And they are concerned, and there is level of fear and fright. And it's okay to feel that way. You don't have to try to be fake about it. You can let your employees know that you're concerned too, but they are going to be looking to you. You are their leader, and they're going to be looking to you to help them feel more secure, safer in this unbelievable time. You know, I was thinking the other day, how many times in the last month have we used the word unprecedented? I mean, this situation gives that word a whole new meaning. This redefines unprecedented.
And leadership has always been important. I love that you said now is the time to be the leader. And now we're required to be a virtual leader and do things we've never done before. Like you said, unprecedented as a virtual leader. How do you do that? That changes. Nothing is the same.
No.
So that's very interesting. Let me go ahead and get to the next question that I have for you. I know people will want to know about this as well. So what's a common question that, as an HR perspective, that you get from just all businesses across the board?
What to do? I mean, what is the process? Well, what am I supposed to do? And talking about options. Is it better? Should we put people on unemployment? Or should I try to get that loan and keep people on? What's the process for this? I mean, questions about that emergency FMLA, family medical leave. How does that how are exempt employees dealt with on that? What about intermittent leave? It's all of the little particulars that as an employer, you're having to deal with your employee. So, you know, what do I do if I have less than 50 employees and I want to claim an exemption from these laws? What do I need to do? And one of the biggest things has been, I mean, the government, all levels of the government are truly to be commended for the Herculean work they're doing to try to get this information out to people as quickly as possible. I mean, they're trying to deal with the virus, and they're trying to deal with the economy, and they're trying to do everything they can to mitigate these problems. And they've got like 365 million people that they're trying to deal with. And it's very complicated. So they passed the laws, and then they had to put out the regulations to say, okay, here are the particulars, here are the definitions, this is what it means, this is what you're supposed to do.
And those particulars are going to be changing ongoing, and it's going to take an expert in the area of the HR, in the area of taxation. I've spoken with some accounting professionals who are saying the same thing, helping people get through this process. And it's okay as a business owner if you don't know how to do these things. It is overwhelming. So ask for help, seek help from mentors, coaches, other business owners, your professional relationships that you have, your attorney, your HR professional, whatever, because we all need this now. You know, business owners are having to do everything different as well. So
it's all new.
It's all
new. There's, like, for instance, for employers that are currently or 2 months ago were covered by a family medical leave, meaning they had more than 50 employees. Well, now there's this new Emergency Family Medical Leave Act, and employers need to understand that doesn't mean you have to give 12 more weeks of leave. So there's all of these particulars, all of these areas of clarification that, you know, I know that everyone's just trying to do the best they can. And
they're HR headaches, right?
Yeah, now they're migraines.
Yes, they're migraines, yeah. Well, this has been very interesting to me, and I really appreciate it. I want to ask you one final question and then kind of summarize our time together. So what are the names of the laws that you're following now, and the acronyms for those, and how, can you just give us a high level explanation of what they are?
There have been 3 laws that have been passed to deal with coronavirus. The first one had to deal with telemedicine and stuff like that. But it's these next 2 that are the ones that are taking up all the oxygen in the room. The second law is FFCRA, which stands for Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And this is where the paid leave comes in. And this is probably down the road where we're going to become more comfortable with the concept of paid leave. It'll be interesting to see how this manifests itself. But the two laws are paid sick leave for 2 weeks, and that's whether you're full-time, part-time, or intermittent. There's a way to figure out how many hours that is. And that is for your personal illness, if you are ill with COVID-19, or if you're being quarantined, whether that's from an agency or a doctor. But now it's important for employers to understand this stay-at-home order from the government is not a quarantine. It's not an isolation order.
Okay.
So it's not the same thing. This is if you have been diagnosed or you have been exposed and your doctor says you need to self-quarantine, or a government, they haven't done it yet, says we have to quarantine this group of people.
Okay, those 4 days that they're referring to, which this would cover, this 2 weeks would cover that. 14th day when they've traveled to another state or another country, they have to self-quarantine for those 14 days. Okay, that's good.
And during that period of time, an employer is to pay you, and they're to pay you your full salary, but there is a cap of $511 a day. Okay. So you have to be aware of that.
All right.
Now, for the paid sick leave, there's also, it's covered for 2 weeks if you have to take care of some other individual who is sick or is quarantined or isolated. Okay. Or if your child is home from school, the school's closed or the care center's closed, and so your children are home. If you have to take care of your child, meaning there's no one else to do it, you can also be paid for 2 weeks to do that. And that is capped. You get 2/3 of your regular salary, capped at $200 a day.
Okay. And is that any size employer, Eileen? Did you say that?
That's 500 employees or less.
Okay, 500 employees. So that's a lot.
So even if you have 5 employees, you're covered by that.
Okay, that's a lot then. Okay, very good. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then what's the next one that you wanted to talk about?
Well, but there's another part to this law.
Okay.
So there's the 2 weeks of paid sick leave, and then there's an additional 10 weeks of paid family medical leave if and only if your child is home because the school is closed or the care center is closed.
Okay.
So you can have up to 12 weeks of paid family medical leave if your child is home from school or daycare.
Okay. Which has been required or mandated by the education. Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you for that. That's very interesting. I'm sure a lot of people listening today are going to find this very, very useful information and continue to follow it. So then what would the next one be?
The third act was the CARES Act, and that's the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. And this is the one that was just started last Friday, where it allowed small businesses, again, it's at 500 employees and under, that this allows people, businesses to get money. Now, there is one thing I want to say about the other law before I go on. Regarding the Families First, because this is a paid leave program, employers may be going, I can't afford to pay that. Well, what the government is going to allow you to do is to take a tax credit dollar for dollar for the amount that you are paying these employees. That's how the government is going to help you pay them.
Okay.
That's very important.
That's very important indeed, yes.
So then now to the CARES Act. This is the payroll protection program and the expanded economic injury, let's see, disaster loan. So the Paycheck Protection Program allows 2.5 times your salary for your payroll so that you can keep people on the payroll. The purpose of this is so that you don't have people going into unemployment, so that businesses can stay intact. I mean, that's a really cool thing that the government's trying to do. And it's for 2 weeks. They're hoping that 2 months. They're hoping that this is going to be that period of time that's going to help protect these businesses between now and when we can get back to things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through the banks. That's this whole thing where banks are trying to get these loans out.
Right. And if there is a limited amount of money for that right now, and for those of you who haven't applied for the funds available under the CARES Act, still do go ahead and reach out to your bank or your accounting professional, because you should go ahead and apply. You don't know how much is going to be left for how long. And then if there is an instance that more money is released, your application may very well put you in line for the next available funds early on. So I would definitely go ahead and do it, even if you have not done it today, as of April the 8th. I would still go ahead and do it. It can't hurt anything, and it could be very beneficial. So
right, and certainly the government, they are wanting to put more funds into it if it's needed. I mean, this is a very, very serious program that the government is trying to help businesses stay alive.
Yeah, and it is a big job, and I do commend the government for what they've done too. I am impressed. I mean, running a company with 100 employees is a difficult thing. Trying to manage this program with all these millions of people is challenging. Well, this has been so helpful, Eileen. I know that people that listen are going to find this to be valuable information, and I just want to make sure that I'm going to share my screen again so that I can.
Can I say? I'd like to just say one more thing, if
absolutely.
I may. The other the other loan that's available is that emergency economic injury disaster loan, and that's a $10,000 grant that is available to people through the Small Business Administration. That's that second loan. And I just want to say, you can have both, but they can't be doing the same thing. You can't, in essence, double dip. So that's another thing that I've been talking with people about to help them understand that difference.
I think that's a good clarification there. And the EDIL loan is there's not much information. You don't have to have your accountant or anything to do that. It's just some questions that you would answer online. It takes about 10 minutes or less. So if you haven't done that application yet, definitely do that. Because the reason for that 10,000, it's kind of like unemployment, if you will, for the business owner, to get you through. Here's some cash to whatever it is that you may need to do to stay in business during this time. So I like that. Eileen, thank you again. Eileen is with HRX Consulting LLC. She is the president, the cure for your HR headaches. I do know that Eileen is open to coaching sessions with people just to find out what they're working on, and then if there's an opportunity for the two of you and a company to work together, you will certainly work that out with them. She can be reached at Eileen at hrxconsulting.com, and you can also reach out to me, Action Coach Business Coaching. I'd be happy to talk to you and to set up a meeting with yourself and Eileen and myself if that were the case. And also reach out to me at Action Coach Business Coaching anytime, 316-440-9559. And again, I want to thank you, Eileen McNichol, and I will be talking to you soon. Take care.